Okay, everyone. Can everybody see me? Just wanted to make sure I'm visible and loud. Yes. Okay. So, facilitator is in the classroom already. So I'll be beginning the session. We'll be starting the session. Okay. Uh, Let me share my screen. Yes. Okay. So, hello everybody, welcome to another wonderful class and our session for today. This is the third week, and this is going to be our second class in the third week, right? Our session for today is titled Academic CVs, Professional Resumes, and LinkedIn Optimization. So, in this class, you'll be learning how to present yourself professionally for global academic and career opportunities. And so let's get started. In today's class, our facilitator is going to be no other than Kende Adebiyi. Kende Adebiyi is an award-winning biology researcher and current Steer and Konietzka Fellow at Indiana University Bloomington, where he focuses on bridging molecular microbiology with public health and sustainable development. Backed by a first-class degree from Lagos State University and a foundational scholarly role at the Nigerian University of Technology and Management, his scientific research or scientific footprint includes multiple publications, a co-authored book, and an impactful research stint with organizations like 54 Gene. Beyond his academic achievements, Kende is a formidable leader in global health and policy advocacy, having been named as one of the top 100 beaten corona heroes in Africa. He has driven massive social impact, notably directing the UN Academic Impact Millennium Fellowship that reached over 800,000 people globally, and currently co-leads Policy Shapers, Africa's premier youth policymaking platform. Through innovative initiatives like his Microbes for SDG project and strategic board roles, he consistently leverages his scientific expertise to champion sustainable, policy-driven solutions to global challenges. Let's give a round of applause to Kende Adebiyi. This is a very, very wonderful bio. So I'll be leaving the floor now, or rather, I'll be dropping the mic now, or passing the mic to Kende to take over from me. Welcome to today's session, Kende. So I
Yeah,
can
thank
stop
you so
sharing.
much.
I can stop sharing my screen. Do you have any? Do you want to share your screen? Should I?
Not at
Okay.
the moment, but you can stop sharing
Okay.
your screen, but not at the
Okay. So
moment.
before wait, there's something that I like doing before any session, right? So before Kende continues, I would like just a few people, one or two people, to unmute themselves and speak on what was your top of mind from the last class, right? So the week two's class, right? What was your top of mind, which means your highlights or your lowlights from the class? So if you want to speak, you can raise your hand. Uh, Raise your hand and I'll bring you to the floor. Okay, so Blessing, please can you unmute? Yes, Blessing Namika, turn on your video and yes, you can
Beta,
speak now.
a video. Okay, let me find somewhere.
Yes,
Okay. Good afternoon,
yeah, so
sir.
just yeah, good afternoon.
If
How are
get
you?
where I can my video.
Or if you don't, if you're not in a comfortable place where you can turn on your video, you can just speak. But just for people who are interested in speaking, in the next time, just please turn on your video. I'll be ready to speak. Ready to turn on your video rather. So Blessing, do you want to speak or do you want to give it to? Should we
Yes,
pass it to the
yes.
next person? Okay, that's lovely.
That's
How are you doing, Blessing?
very well, thank you. So, from the last class, we discussed
Yeah.
extensively SOP, how to write a good SOP, and also personal statement. And we highlighted the
Okay.
difference why we focus more on you, your person. The statement of purpose is focused on what do you want to do. Yeah, or the person is more focused on your personal background, what has inspired you to do what you want to do. And one thing that really stuck with me that I'm still even wanting to be is the hook for the statement of purpose. You mentioned that it's usually a 5 paragraph document, and then you
Yeah.
mentioned the hook have our spark, our field, our research interest. That's what actually made us interested in this. Can be from your growing up, things that has led to what
Yeah.
has led you now deciding to take this particular research interest. Then the next paragraph will be our past academic, as our past academic, like our degree, maybe certificates you've earned doing this course, and also research methods you've done before and the result. Next one will be your current research interest. Yeah, actually, your current research focus, what you're currently focusing on researching in the school. And you indicated that we should write specific research interest, and we can also change it later when we get to the school. But people would be more interested when we have a particular research focus. And then also wrote about the
Yeah.
future goals. What are your future goals? I think that's the next paragraph. What are the future goals? What do you intend to do? How does this round up? Like as per what you want to do in your master's. That's
Yeah.
basically all. We gave assignments, yeah. And you talked about personal statements, all about situation, task, action, result. I just wrote down a brief thing like situation. What did you find out about yourself? That's a personal statement. What did you find out about yourself? What did you find out that you love? What did you find out that you got interested in? Then task. What did you do when you identified it? Give an example of your notes in the class when you notice that people will always want to come to you for your notes to learn. So what did you do
Yeah.
when you found out that this is what you know about yourself? And then the action, how did you
So
do
that
it?
was
You mentioned that
blessing. That's enough.
yeah.
That's a
Then the
lot.
last
Thank you so much.
result.
Yes. Yes. Yes, that's a blessing. I'll giving you 1 point. That's nice for contribution. My class, I like contribution and contributions and you points, right? So, just to, I don't think you had like understanding of what I said. Listen, I said your highlights, which means I don't mean a summary of what happened, right? For the
Oh,
next person that is going to speak, your highlights and your lowlights. So your highlight, just one incident that you just a quick summary of what you enjoyed the most or you found that was the top of your mind, right? While your low lights are maybe there's anything you don't have to have a low light, right? If there's anything you didn't like in last class, you can point it out, right? So the next hand is Favor Daniels, right? So Favor Daniels, after Favor Daniels, we just go to the next activity because there's no much time. Favor Daniels, your mic, your video is already on, right? So you can speak now. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good
Last
afternoon.
week class was very engaging and interesting one. For me, my highlights is I think I have two highlights. The first was learning that there's a difference between personal statement and statement of purpose. Sincerely, up until last week, I did not know there's a difference between the two of them. That stood out for me. And then secondly, when Mr. Sally shared a sample statement, a statement of purpose as well. A student he helped who is currently in his school, and the woman particularly, she came from a biology. I think she for her BSc she studied biology, but now she's doing something in administration. So sharing that statement of purpose was something that was very engaging. It taught us how to translate our work experience into why we want to do what we want to do, or study what we want to do. Thank you.
Okay.
Then for my
Yes, I
low
love
light,
it.
I won't really say I have any low lights. Yeah.
No problem. So that's 2 points. So we'll just get into the class now because you have our speaker waiting to speak. So Kendi, I'll be handing the mic over to you. Yes. Kendi, are you on the call?
Yes, I
Yes.
am. Yeah, thank you so much, Precious, for the opportunity. How are you? It's been a minute.
Very well, thank you.
That's
Yes.
good to know.
Yes.
Um, It's nice to see you guys again. Or will I say, being in the call with you guys again? Not like I see any of you except the moderator, but I understand the challenge of network and data band in Nigeria, so that's fine. I've been asked to do the topic on building your academic profile and making yourself competitive for global competition. Before I dive into that, I have a quick question to the class. I think I met you guys 2, 3 weeks ago. I'm not particularly sure. But I give an assignment where I ask you guys to do a self-assessment of your profile, and that self-assessment will determine where you start. I call it a self-audit system. How many of you did that? If maybe a show of hands, and maybe trying to work towards a plan to fill those gaps.
So in a show of hands, if you did the assignment, please raise your hands. The show of hands. So I'm only seeing 2 hands on the call. Does it mean only 2 people did the assignments? That 3 hands.
It's fine. Yeah, I would have expected like 90% of the class to have done that. It's not a graded assignment, but I feel like all of these sessions you are taking might be as good as, for the lack of better word, maybe not useful for you if you are not able to fill that gap, because it is very imperative to know where you stand. The assignment is very simple. I divided the application pathway into 3 processes or 3 sections. One, the pre-application process where you are in the application phase and the post-application phase. The pre-application process starts with the first fundamental task of self-audit. What are your aspirations? Where do you want to get to? And where are you currently? And starting to fill those gaps. I'm not going to repeat the same class I gave. I gave so many ideas and ways to navigate that. So I would recommend some of you to either look at the recording again so you can do these assignments. And you see that play forth in the concept of building your academic profile or your CV or even building your profile to access any opportunities. I think the beautiful thing about research, academics, profile development, application, it hinges on the 5 letter word called story, building a story. Eh? Now, you either want to build a story, you either want to say a story. 1 minute.
So I think our facilitator is having a bit of personal difficulties. Okay, he's
Sorry,
back
I'm
now.
back. Yeah, I'm back now. So as I was saying, it's about building a story. So even in the process of applying for graduate school itself or applying for any global opportunity, the big question do you want to ask? The first question is, what story do I have? Or what are the stories of my life? That's number one. Number two, how is the story fitting into this entity? Now, it could be a PhD scholarship, it could be a Shivni scholarship, it could be a Dalai fellowship, it could be a Presence Diana award. Name it. How does your story fit into their story? And how do you present it as such? So everything is about telling a story. Even in academic research, when you start your PhD, your master's program, everything hinges on telling a story. And I think it's important to know who are you. So in a quick stint, like Chidima, I can see your video is on, and that is not a disservice to you, but rather a plus to you. You know, I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself and tell me if you want to describe the things. Don't tell me about yourself. That's not the question I'm asking. Not my name is this, blah 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 blah. But rather, what defines you? Who are you, or who do you aspire to be? What are you currently engaging? There are two Chidima, and this is impressive. And I think Chidima with the raised up hand. I think I don't want to massacre your last name, so I'm trying my best to see. I think it's Umanandi, if I'm right. But you're muted, Precious, if you're saying anything. But that said, do you want to tell me what are the core themes of your life? What currently define? For example, if anybody asks me, right, my core theme is science. I'm a scientist. I'm a social development leader. I'm an SDGs advocate, and I'm a policy enthusiast, right? And lastly, I can say I'm academic. So there are 5 pillars that define me: science, policy, social development advocate, academic, and policy enthusiast. Now, does that mean that every application I want to present, I will always put that on the table? That would be a disservice to me, total disservice to me. despite how impressive those combination might be. I know you are still at a very young stage of your career, but currently, if you want to describe your thematics or what defines you, what would those things be? You see the way I answer my question, just the themes, not necessarily telling me about yourself. And I like the two Chidinmas to answer it that way since I caught Chidinma, you know. So I think Umenandi go first and correct me with your surname, please. I'm sorry if I have massacred it. Then I will ensure to do better. Over to you, Chidinma.
Okay. Good afternoon.
Good
Okay,
afternoon.
for my core team, the core team that's okay, I have built my story on over the past 2 years is I'm an advocate of SDG, particularly youth employment, and I've also concentrated my research in gender inequalities and climate issues. So these are the three pillars I've tried to build my story in by engaging in research, voluntary services in these areas. So those are
So
the
if I
three core
understand you,
pillars.
sustainable development goes through SDGs. Then your research is on gender equality. Is that what you said?
Yes, youth employment, that's youth
Youth employment.
unemployment, gender issues, and climate.
What
So
did you
I'm trying to
study?
see, I studied economics.
So your identity doesn't have that. It's fine if it doesn't. Sometimes one's identity doesn't have what you study. But just to be clear, you won't put in your identity maybe an economist or something.
Mm,
What kind of masters are you
my
looking to get?
I my identity as an economics is the reason why I have these three areas of interest
But I
because
didn't know
I'm
that
looking
until I
at
asked you. So you gave a fantastic response, right? But it's quite interesting that you didn't put the number one pillar of your professional expertise, which is economics, right? And there's no way I would have guessed that. If I'm to guess what you even studied in undergrad, I would have guessed international relations. I would have guessed maybe psychology or sociology. There's no way I would have guessed economics. Not because economics is not good. I think Precious is an economist and really dedicated, sacrificed a lot to become one for reasons that are still beyond my understanding, but it's fine, no problem. I'm a scientist, so I'm biased to science, that's fine. Um, so it is what it is. But that great question. Just hold on to those thoughts, those lists. And I'm gonna go on to the second schedule. But I want everybody in this class to write 5 things. It might not be up to five, three, minimum of three, maybe maximum of five. 5 themes that define you. I'll remind you of mine. Mine is science, social impact, sustainable development advocate, policy, and academia, right? Those are the 5 themes that define me. So I want you guys to write it down. We're going to come to it one after the other. I am meant to teach about academics. We will get there, but it's a journey. Teaching you how academics will work is the easiest thing on the planet. I can teach you in 10 minutes, but understanding the rationale that goes into how do you build these CVs, either for academic or professional CV. Over to you, Shikwendo. I think I pronounced your name better. I think so. Over to you. Yeah.
Yes, it's Chikwendo. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. You can call me Kenny, by the way.
Uh,
Right.
okay, if I'm to say, I will present myself as a business developer, that's business development management. So I'm just categorizing it as a business developer, um, business manager, AI mastery enthusiast, workflow automation lover. How will I do it? Like I've done a lot of trainings about workflow automation, AI mastery, business analysis that links to my first degree, which is business management. So
Okay, great. So if I
that's
understand
just
you, you have business.
a
So
summary
you
of
have
it.
so you have business development or management and a little bit of tech, artificial intelligence in recent times. Okay, I'll take that. I want everybody to drop, just like Blessing did, to drop that in the chat box. Right. Now, I said that. So I have Okeke Chioma said early childhood education, women's and girls empowerment, better life for persons with disability, yes, this African counseling. We have mathematics education, STEM curriculum planning. This is beautiful, right? Because I think what does this exercise tells you is that as we grow in our professional endeavors, our volunteering endeavors, or whatever it is you might do, you'll be defined by multiple things. Now, all of those teams must have a nexus. How did they connect? Can you connect them? For me, I have a North Star. My North Star is, and if you guys have not heard a North Star before, North Star is a interesting description about what do you hope to see happen? What is the ultimate goal in life? I have two North Star that defines me. One is what gets me going every day, and the other is what maybe that is not a North Star. The second one is a North Star. The first one is my motivation. My first motivation is the concept of nature-based diligence, and I did write a book about this. That is, the more you put in effort, intense effort, unusual effort to something over time, there will always be reward for it because you are doing things in an unusual way and putting much more effort than most of your peers. But that's not where I'm going. My North Star that defines all my thematics of academia, science, name it, is that every person on the planet, I hope to see a world. No, see my wife. I hope to see a world where everyone on the planet will live in peace and shared prosperity. Now, that might seem broadened to you. And what is my role in doing that? My role in doing that is can I contribute uniquely to what will shape prosperity in life? And that's through my scientific endeavors. Can I contribute to new research insights? Can I contribute to new research development? The second part is that can I help one person at a time, maybe get from their different challenges? And that's my approach of SDGs. Third, I truly understand the power of government and policy to even shape the decisions of the brightest mind. You people in Nigeria can actually relate to this better. There are so many smart people that the policies of the country are not supporting. Hence my involvement in policy. The point of why I'm saying all of this is not a system to brag. Is that at a particular time, when you think about your core thematics and what defines you, you should be able to tell a story with it. Why did you get into this? What motivated you into this? Now, my North Star, as I said, is that I want a world where everyone on the planet will live in peace and shared prosperity. My motivation is from my own foundational experience because I lacked all of these things while growing up, and I can connect the dots. And that's the power of putting a competitive profile out there. Now we have all these teams. You said these are the teams that define you. We're going to play a quick game, and I'll be the last person to answer this question. And I would love Precious input also. Obviously, he's an expert in the same topic I'm doing, but you see how both of us will answer this later on after you guys' responses. So I'll call on Ololade Elizabeth. There are 4 things that defines you. You said chemical engineering, process system, sustainability advocate, policy advocate. Can you give me at least 2 evidence under each team? You've already said this is what define you. This is what define you. Give me 2 evidence under each team that this is why you think this is what define you. Either what you've done before, what you've achieved, maybe what you studied, what you've engaged with. Just 2 evidence under those teams. You see, we are building the CV one step at a time. Go ahead, Ololade. Yeah.
Good afternoon,
Good afternoon.
Mr.
Yeah.
Kende. Okay, I am just starting out, but for my chemical engineering, I chose chemical engineering because of my love for mathematics, and chemical engineering is much more calculations and implementing scientific rules, calculate and putting it into mathematical terms. Also, chemical engineers deal with processes, and I've been exposed to processes in Nigeria and the output of products. Okay, my final year project was on economic plant control, and I majored on optimization, which is a major factor in product, yes, in product output of processes. And for sustainability advocate, I ate wastage of resources. So my sustainability part is how to manage resources more, which also contributes to my interest in optimization because it has to do with recycling, which is using what you have before and not wasting it. And policy advocate, I've seen how policies have, for that one, I cannot really say I have something in
That's fine.
mind, but
I think that's okay,
but
Ololade. I took your response to mine. You said you define yourself in chemical engineering because you love mathematics. You define yourself in process system automation because you've been exposed to processes before. And I didn't quite get what you get in something, but that's fine. I'm going to go to one more person, which is Arama. I'm not sure if I pronounced that well. You say you're a medical researcher, a digital health innovator, a mental health advocate. Why? Can you tell me some of the evidence that guides you presenting yourself in those teams? Are you the Arama? I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name. If not, let's try Favor Daniels.
Hi, can you hear me?
Okay, go ahead, Arama. Go ahead. I can hear you
I
now.
think Arama is trying to speak.
Yeah, I can hear
Okay,
you.
sorry, can I get your question again? I had a
One
network
second.
glitch.
So you said that these are the things that define you: medical researcher, digital health innovator, mental health advocate. Can you tell me the evidences you might have done, some of your experiences that make you think those are the things that define you?
Okay, thank you. So for me, I think right from when I was little, as people would always say, maybe they were interested in studying medicine and surgery, they had this passion. But I think I discovered medicine and surgery, like I discovered my passion for that after like a sickness or illness my dad had. And that was what sparked my interest in it. And I furthered that and I decided to study medicine. And while studying, I saw that there's so much more to medicine than just studying to be a doctor. Mhm. So that's why I had an interest in research. So from there, while researching, I saw that there is so much gap we can fill because many people we just do research, we don't even there's no innovation or we don't disseminate our work. So that's why I decided to also go into digital health innovation. Then after that, I found like I developed an interest in mental health because it's something that it's not really talked about, especially in Nigeria. And there's a lot of superstitions and various stigma around it. So that drew me to mental health. And currently, I'm trying to combine the three. So I would define myself as that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Interest of time. Thank you so much, Rama. That was good. But in terms of time, I love why all of you answered the question well. You fell into the trap everybody falls into when thinking about their CV presentation. CV is not an aspiration of hope of what you want to become. It's actually who you are and what you have done. It's an evidence-based document. And I said I'm a scientist. And how can I define I'm a scientist? I can truly put on my CV that I have a bachelor's of science in microbiology. I've done 3 internships in teaching hospital and medical places. I'm on the track to completing my PhD. I've published 7 papers. And I can say, yeah, I think I'm a scientist. I know you guys are early on. You don't have this beautiful pride. And today I'll show you 2 CVs, my current CV and my CV when I started my PhD 6 years ago. And you will see how do you present as an early career person and how do you present when you are going and what's the aspiration like. Either ways, I define myself as a social development goals person. I can easily put there that I founded SDGs Arts in Nigeria that expanded to 10 universities with over 20,000 members. I can highlight some of the projects I've been opportune to lead. I said I'm an academic, right? I could put there the number of lecturing positions I've taken. But even early on during my days, you will see how I still, and you're going to see something today, very, very interesting. And that's why no matter your current stage, can actually tell a defined story. Even though, and that's why the last class I taught, I asked you guys to do a self-assessment. There'll be some weaknesses in your profile because you guys are early on, and it's important that you start filling it one step at a time. But you can still tell a story with it, nonetheless. It's just how do you present yourself? How do you convince someone to actually believe that, like, this is what defines this person, and this is why I believe this is who they are, you know? And so, an evidence-driven approach is what should guide you in thinking a lot about your processes, about okay, who you think you are, what do you think you do. I said I'm a polity enthusiast. Look at the word. I was very careful. I said I'm a polity enthusiast. Despite the fact that I'm one of the founding team member of Policy Shapers, Nigeria African First Youth Policy Platform, and I've contributed to 7 policy papers globally. But yet, I still think I'm a politics because it's not compared to my scientific expertise, right? And I was very careful with that. So there must be evidence in a way backing each of them. But the question all of you should have in your mind, but you can't compare us to us, Mr. Kenny. You are a PhD person. I'm just someone that just graduated. That's okay, that's fine. But even at that, and that's the power of narrative, and that's what this class is meant to do. How do you still bring your best foot forward? Anybody reviewing your stage, we don't review, I'm not reviewing a PhD application, a master application, expecting a professor student packet. I'm reviewing it on a very equal level standard. But how do you tell your story? How do you present it? What does an academic CV want? What does a resume have? Which I'm going to differentiate between both of them, and we're going to start first academic CV. Academic CV is an exhaustive document that truly show your tendencies. One, your capabilities to pursue scholarship, maybe not to be a scholar, and your previous track record that shows it. Two, academic CV is so exhaustive, and sometimes people fell into the trap of that exhaustive model. That you think that because you can write an academic CV for 3 pages, 4 pages, 2 pages, as you go ahead in your career, your CV goes higher. Like, my academic CV now is about 26 pages. You don't need that for graduate school. Don't go more than 2 or 3 pages. You don't need that, But you also don't want to fall into the trap of putting things you should not put into it because it's meant to be academic CV for a reason. The word itself describes it. And you must be very careful based on the kind of scholarships you're applying for. That determines what are you bringing to the table. Now, when we go to professional resume, this is a bit very tricky. Because in that instance, for me, I think reality is more of an edict than academic CV. Because in academic CV, you can actually have one master one and keep using it, even for multiple application. For a professional resume, it changes over time based on the kind of profession you're applying for and how you want to present yourself, despite your core thematics. So how does a CV look like? I'm going to share my screen in a moment. I sent a request to share screen, or if you can make me a co-host, Precious, that would be great.
Yeah, okay, yeah, sorry. Have you accepted the request?
Thank you. I'm going to start with, one sec. I'm going to start with this high-level document, which is my CV. I know this session is recorded. That's fine. It's okay. But it's fine. Don't be scared. I'm going to show you this, but I'll also show you how over the years I built up to this stage. But what's the difference between this CV and when I was applying to the same graduate school? And it's important for you to understand this clearly. I still communicated clearly my core team of science in this case because an academic CV. And I'm like, what do I want to present to the table for an academic CV? I know I want to apply for a PhD program. I need to show I'm a scientific expert to a large extent or a rising scientific person. 2, I have some very strong knowledge in academia and I've shared some evidence to show that. And 3, in all of these things that I describe myself as, where do I necessarily stand? I believe in a very simplistic CV, not too much design based. And that's what you see in academic CV compared to professional CV. It's simple and straightforward, where every minor details matters, right? For example, this is my education. Okay, I recommend starting from your highest level of education. At this stage of your career, nobody needs to know where you did your secondary school, in my own opinion, except you want to just show that you have a diploma from a high school or something. But what matters the most is your first degree, right? And in the first degree, and you'll see the difference between this CV and when I apply for graduate school in a moment. Can you guys still hear me? I think some of you have.
Yes, Kenny, we
Okay,
can hear
great.
you. Yes.
And But the most important thing here is like, okay, this is what I studied, but this doesn't mean anything. Everybody's applying for that scholarship or whatever will have a degree. The only difference that I can put forward if you have it is if you have a very good grade and you want a very interesting scholarship. Even though there's a section of scholarships and award, you want to kind of introduce this early on to say like, why doing this? This was the defining moment for me. So in a way, even if the person is a bit can't get to the section of scholarship of award, they can truly see that like, yes, I had a degree, but my degree was not necessarily ordinary, right? Or you had a degree, these are the things that define this degree for me, right? And you want to have a very clear timeline of what they are. Now, research and professional appointments. I like to bring this upward. This is standard in academic CV. Do you have any research or professional or academic experiences? Particularly those that are pursuing master's or PhD program, research-based PhD program. And this is very, very important to kind of put in what you currently do must reflect an academic engagement. It must. I know you are working currently in a company to get by, or you are even doing a job that is not in your profile. And that's the power you have. You can actually, I don't want to say you can establish position, but you can make yourself have one. You could be a research assistant to even Precious himself, you that are interested in economics. And you can ask his permission, like, can I list you as a research assistant, to you and maybe put organization for Dream to Impact or whatever company is working with or a personal assistant. In a way, if he has the permission to grant that, he will grant that. And obviously, you want to also live to that. You're not just listing that because you want to lie. There must be evidence-based approach to some of those things that you want to do, right? And doctoral researcher in this, we briefly describe. This is an academic CV, is exhaustive. I recommend having just 2 pointers. And you'll notice that there's something I did here. The only time you only see 3 pointers is my current engagement. My current engagement on what I'm doing. And you see a lot of metrics. This is what I'm doing in this lab. I'm conducting this research. But what you should put here, forget all this jargon, is I'm leading 2 independent research projects. 2, for people that in my field knows that like at the thesis level means that I'm doing 2 theses at the same time. This is huge because I expected to do 1, and that's why I listed it there, right? I've presented 8 times at top conferences in the field, elected as a chair. Now, have I done 1,000,001 things on my doctoral research? Yes. But what are the core things that is a bit different and significant? These are what I highlight for what it is. Obviously, visiting lecturer, what did I do in this? I wrote visiting lecturer, but what matters the most for me here, and this is where you want to know how you should put your narrative, is I would have said that I lecture classes on these topics. But there are 2 things that matters. That I lecture postgraduate classes, masters and PhD students. Why? And this matters because I'm also a PhD. I'm running on my PhD myself. So there's a level of confidence that communicates that for you to be hired to actually lecture a graduate class, it means that like there's something that is different about you because it's not expected. So there's this thing you put in it. So your summary for your appointment based must be very interesting that it must catch the eyes of the person, right? And other things are there. What did you do? What do you want to do, etc., etc. Even if there's one rule I want to bring your eyes to, and I think obviously Precious is familiar with this. I coordinated the Millennium Fellowship globally in 2020. But this is an academic CV. My work in the fellowship is more of a programmatic work, where I did a lot of work in, how will I describe it? A lot of work in leading the fellowship, leadership, blah, blah, blah. But I was able to frame it because it was during the COVID-19 pandemic. A lot of the people I sort of supervise work on the COVID-19 project. And it is important. It is important that I frame it to fit into my narrative as a microbiologist. So yes, while I still said I coordinated the class of 2020 and I helped design and implemented projects, the project I chose to highlight are those projects resolving the COVID-19 in 20 nations. Do people work on gender equality? Yes. Did they work on climate change? Yes. Did they work on this? But yet, a lot of people still work on COVID-19 pandemic, and that's what I chose to bring to the table. If I was applying for like a sustainability-based award, I would refine this to I coordinated people working on climate change projects because I actually did. So knowing the key thing and the story I want to say per application truly matters, and I want to describe it. And I'm not going to bore you with other appointment that is going on, ongoing research projects. I said all of these, right? This is where I am. They can Google if they want to search it. They can ask for letters. But your evidence starts coming on from, okay, do you have some publications in academic profile? Do you have some articles you've written out there? Have you contributed to a preprint? And this is where you kind of put a list of some of your publications. And in this case, if it's not selected, just put publications. I put selected because in a way I have more than 8. And how does this matter? Because now, this all evidence communicates to the person that like, maybe he's one of us. He's truly a microbiologist. He has satisfied the requirement of doing research and publishing while at it, right? In some cases, I kind of separate presentations. If you tend to have presented in places before, where have you presented? What did you present? And all of these look abstract to you guys because you guys have not gotten here. But the reason why I'm showing you is that this is more concrete because I might almost at the apex level of my career. But how do you do this as an early person? Obviously, awards listed, leadership and critical role, service, all of this sectioning. You don't need to bother yourself. But let's go to the truth. Where was I 6 to 7 years ago? 7 years ago when I was applying for grad school, when I was literally in your position. And now did I also frame the same thing here, but still put the evidence forward? And this will bring me to the document I think I'm about to open. I think it should be this. Yeah. I thought I downloaded it. 1 second, guys. Yeah. So this was the CV I used to apply for my graduate school scholarship. And I had 3 of us in the US. I got the Shivney scholarship with it and so many other scholarships. I tweaked the Shivney scholarship a little bit because it's a bit more leadership driven, even though it was a microbiology scholarship. This is the only thing I had. Compared to the education you guys saw here, where everything looks like a lot of listing, I only had my bachelor's. And that was it. Nothing more than that. My bachelor's. What did I put as my address? I put Department of Microbiology because I was sort of doing a research assistant. Was I working there physically? No. But was I still writing a paper with my advisor there? Yes. Like, yeah, I think I can. And I spoke to my advisor. They you can do that. You see, so even them seeing this from your affiliation kind of communicates, oh, he's still affiliated with this department. Because I'm applying for a master's and PhD in microbiology. And I had to speak to my advisor. I still want to volunteer with you, but I also like to use that my affiliation. Go ahead. The presentation matters. Imagine somebody putting your name and the next thing you put there is number 12, Bariga Road, Lagos. Like, I don't understand. Why do you do that in an academic CV? You want to put a professional affiliation there and the address, and that's what we guide. Right? And over the years, I've learned, you see, over the years, CV becomes better, but I wouldn't put the whole link of the LinkedIn there. I would have decided on just one email, like I did better. But it still was not a deal breaker because I was young while doing it. But it still worked. I looked at it this morning while praying for it, but it still worked. What I did here was to put forward my educational qualification. This is who I am. Put my first class top 1%. I did a mistake here by not quickly highlighting the vice chancellor award like I did before because I know better now. I would have highlighted it and just put what my project is. Interestingly enough, I just went on to publications straight away. I wouldn't recommend this now. It worked because this is the evidence that guide. I would have started with appointments, but it still worked because you see how I divided these appointments because I didn't have any appointments. I was just a graduate. I don't have a job then. I think I was just getting my UN job that I was starting to do. I don't think I had it then. But what I was doing was trying to write papers, contribute to papers. And I was fortunate to have contributed to just one paper that was published, just one. But this publication list doesn't look like that, right? And I was not lying, and I'll tell you why. This was the only paper that was published. I was a co-author. But the second one was, okay, this was accepted. And you put accepted there. But for the others, either it's under review or manuscript in progress. And you're allowed to do that. Just put a title, put the co-author, put the name. Because manuscript in progress is allowed. In a standard place where research is done, we can write a manuscript for 2 or 3 years. So let's say you're working on 3 research projects, you try to publish one of them, you have 2 or 3 more you are working, a review article, a data analytics project that you're trying to write up. You can still write it in a publication format, but put in brackets that like manuscript in progress. It means you are still writing, or under review means you've submitted it, but people are still, they're still considering it for your publication, or is accepted. Nobody will ask you for evidence of those. Now, I'm not saying you should lie because they know that by confidential clause, as far as your manuscript is still in progress or is already under review, you cannot necessarily send it to them. Although now we have preprint, so preprint makes our life easier. You can usually write something and publish on preprint. And what does a preprint server mean? If you guys don't know that, let me expose you. when you want to publish, and I truly hope you guys have a section for publishing academic articles, so you should know what it means. After all your research, you submit to a journal. What the journal does is that they send it to reviewers. They call them blind reviewers. You don't know who they are, they don't know who you are. 2 or 3 of them. They make their comments a month, 2 months, some take 6 months, send it back to you for you to either go back to the lab or make some corrections or do some experiments. So it sometimes takes 6 months, sometimes 3 months, sometimes a year. I've seen a review process that took 3 years or 4 years before. It can be lengthy. So it's what we call reviews, right? So that's publishing. But now we now have a platform where there's something called preprint online. You can go to ResearchGate online, you can go to Archive, BioArchive, and even though you submitted it or you are working on something, you can actually put your preprint. Everybody can start seeing it online, but it will be stated that this work has not yet been peer reviewed. And every journal accept, most journals are not accept your work to not be in preprint. And this gives you more strength. So if it was a couple of years back that preprint was not available, you'd have seen a lot of links of some of this work that are published online. But I put publication forward. And why I put it forward? Because this was my own strength. I know I was an undergrad that just graduated. Most people will only list 2 or 3 publications. I can list about 6 that are even ongoing. So I put it forward. I had this conference paper that I submitted to. It was an online conference that I contributed to, and I separated it as conference paper. I've never attended any conference before compared to what I've showed you. This was the only one I did. And even at that, on your conference, you can even title this presentation and rework your seminar presentation, your undergraduate project. For those of you that have seminar or defense, you work it and put the name of your advisor on yourself and say, oh, presentations, put your name, put the title, and just say, let's say you're in Department of Economics, Lagos State University Economics Department Seminar, 2024, senior year seminar. That's fine. It's a presentation. It's how you present it. You obviously, as you go higher in your career, your evidence become more concrete compared to what I showed you before and what I showed you now. They are like night and day, but it worked because it's more of, as I said, I told you guys when I taught you, you are not applying for masters because you're an expert. You're actually applying because you want to be trained to be an expert. They just want to be sure that, are we investing in the right set of candidates? That's the whole point. I had published a book and I don't expect you guys to have this. I think this was something quite different. Now look at teaching experience. Unlike before, when I kind of sectioned this to, and I knew what I was doing because you see my current CV, I only have it as research and professional appointment because now I don't care much. I can lump it together. I have so many standard papers to prove what I have. I teach in a university now. But then I section what do they want in an ideal grad student. They want the education that have a bit of an idea of research. They want someone that can do a teaching assistant, right? I was okay, with publication, I can convince them research. Can I separate some of my experiences to both teaching and maybe research experience? But do I have them? Yes, I did. Maybe not too much. I take tutorials when I was in undergrad, a lot. This was not a professional appointment. I teach first and second year students. When I wrote academic tutor, this is not a lie. It's not a professional appointment. When I said I tutors undergrad, I didn't say I'm a lecturer there. I didn't say I'm there. And that's what I do. I teach JAM classes. Then I remember teaching JAM classes all the time. To this stuff, Coco. I went to LASU and I put science tutor because I wanted teaching biology and physics. Again, it's about presentations. It doesn't need to be in that position where you're in the office and you have your, you're not like Precious now that travels all around the world that can put this. No, it doesn't matter. It was at the stage also before you, right? And I think these are the things that I'm trying to let you know. In the same vein, tutor Lagos State University students in your academic committee. And I only did this once. There was a time when the Faculty of Science, you want to think about your experience. And say, how can I section this? Okay, I've done, and you don't want to lie. And that is about presentation. How do you tell your story? That's why I started this talk with CV is a story. Imagine somebody, this was what I used to get on my scholarships then in the early years. And I was able to take all my experience in LASU where I was doing tutorial for free for people. I turned it to like an experience because it's truly an experience. I work for student senior committee to help them set a mock examination. It became an experience, and I think this matters. There was a time when I taught for a month in this primary school and I put it there. Now, does this make a professor feel impressed and jealous? No, but they make them see a motivated student that is doing his best to have this experience, and that's all that matters. So your excuse to me, even though I showed you my other CV and you might feel like, oh my God, I've not achieved this. No, that doesn't mean you don't have a story to say. Although, now let me be honest with you. Your story will be better if you did the first assignment I gave to you. When you did a self-assessment, you gave yourself 6 months to truly gather some of these good experiences rather than patching it up. I am not patching it up. Look at this paper. I couldn't have patched it up. All of them are now published, right? And even though I gave you some trick to patch some things up, how you can turn your seminar to a presentation, how you can do this, actually also invest the effort to real-time evidence, right? Because you could see that I actually put link to one of them. That's okay, you can click on this, and I put bracket to some of these others. So there's an evidence to that, right? And these things matters. Now let's go to research experience. This is the crazy part from when I was just laughing when I was seeing this. I can't even write it this morning. You see this research assistant, Fascia Laboratory, Mark Walibam, Lagos State University. So in the US or in wherever you go all over the world, for those in science, you actually join a lab. And the name of the lab is always the advisor's name. Now, that's not the practice in Nigeria. But I know I'm going to the US. So my fellow undergrad applying from Harvard, applying from this, I can bet they have in their profile. And I know now because I sit on admission committee now, you see them, oh, I'm an undergraduate research assistant in this person's lab. And for me, it's just, the difference is just thematics. I was assigned, all of you at once had a supervisor. So what I did is very simple. I had a supervisor, research assistant, Fascia Laboratory. That's my supervisor was Dr. Fascia, and I just gave her a lab because even though she doesn't have a physical lab, but I still work with her, Department of Microbiology, and I kind of describe what I did there, etc., etc. Now this they will believe why, because when you go to my publication section, I actually published with her. So there's an evidence that actually back up that claim, not in the entire, or I even have some work that is on. And you see her name a lot in everything because she was my undergrad advisor in my early days, right? But that was not it. You see this second research student, this was my IT. All of you did IT. But I was able to section it rather than putting intern. Intern. I'm applying for a research program. It matters. So how you present yourself really matters a lot. Research students, Olatope Laboratory. This was my boss then doing my hands, and I did my internship in FIRO, which is in Oshodi, right? I did another volunteering internship in also. Oh no, my bad. I didn't do an internship here. Oh, this is quite interesting. I did not. For those in science or for those in economics, we are in a system where all of you have to contribute money in Nigeria to kind of do your project and pay. And for those in science in particular, we know that you send your sample somewhere and you go and look at them how they are seeing it, the shadow and the likes. That's what I did in FIRO. I had to go there. I had to pay them 200,000. And I went there, I had experience. They let me play around with something. But if they call anybody there, would they say I've been there? Yeah, I did my research there. It was my acknowledgement. But I was not entirely hired. So rather than you seeing them as somebody you paid to do some part of the analytics for you because your school doesn't have the equipment, I see that as a learning curve and I listed it as my experience. So let's say you did maybe your SPSS analysis with an agency, even though you paid them and the person have an agency, but you spoke to them, you kind of asked them what they did, they explained to you. Can you ask them, oh, it might seek their permission or not, depending on how you write. You can just put an undergraduate research teams with this SPSS lab or data analytics group. People discard all of those things. So I had 2 experiences just from one single project. My main advisor and the lab where I did my analysis, even though I'm just always going there to observe what they did. Right? And this is where I did my internship, obviously, and my IT, everybody does IT and laboratory intern. And I had volunteer once in this place. I volunteered for a month. But what this communicated now, and this is what it's very interesting. This is not an academic CV. I then shows a bit of my work experience. This was my first job when I graduated. I worked with the UN for the first time with MCN. It was a very good experience for me. It was what I was still doing at the time. I was earning almost the salary of a professor in Nigeria. I would have been tempted to list this first because it's my current engagement. I did not fall into that trap because I was applying for a scholarship in microbiology. Nobody cares about me in the campus network. I still sort of put it there to show my extracurricular part. But even though I put the dates in it, I had convinced them that my most important activity date are these research experiences, as you can see clearly. And this can be a side part-time thing. So the idea that you want to write your CV with what you currently do is ask the question, how do what you currently do fit into what you are trying to apply to? It's important to answer that question. In this case, it did not. Now, obviously, the achievement and award, and this can be a bit tricky. I was opportune to get a lot of awards and achievements while I was in undergrad. And you might not have up to this. You might not even have anything. I feel like any person that have up to this level, the person is already impressed. These are good evidences. If you have one, try to lead it, list it as much as you can, put them in. You don't need to describe all of those awards. And the awards can also describe some of these things. For example, let me give you one award or one fellowship you currently do have. What's the name of these sessions that Precious? What's the name of this group called, this class? What's the program called?
So it's a 2026 summer online skill acquisition program. Can you hear me?
So, yeah. In this case, how are they selected? Is it free for anyone? Were people selected?
No, it's not free. They competed against thousands of applicants and ended up being like about 60 something or 70 something selected people. So yeah, it wasn't free at all.
Perfect. Now you see, in that achievement or award, I would describe it. Fellow, or whatever the name it is. You can just put fellow, comma, maybe Dream to Impact Fellow 2020, whatever. It's about description because you actually competed in it. You can describe yourself as a fellow, you could define yourself as a scholar. What you don't want to do is to describe yourself as a trainee, even though you technically are. All fellows are trainee. But your achievement award, so it's about telling your story. You are a fellow. So if you think that you've not had any award or achievement in your life, you just lied because the fact that you are in this room, you have one. You are not just seeing it as such. So it's about how do you show yourself forth? And these are the things that matters in what you want to do. And interesting of all of these awards, I don't list it anymore in my CV. Because again, as you go higher in career, you see that like, this doesn't matter. But for your stage, the point I'm trying to pass is that you can do that. Let's go to leadership and volunteering experience. I did a lot of leadership stuff on campus. I contributed, led in his organization, founder, and there's so many things you can do. Let's say you are even in your room, and what you are doing is just posting gender equality stuff all the time, and maybe doing every week content. You don't want to call yourself content creator or gender equality. The perfect word for that comes to my brain is curator, gender equality campaign. You call yourself a curator. Think about it. Again, it's about telling a story. You could have just said volunteer gender equality. You are creating, because you are literally creating it. You are creating gender equality campaign, posting every day. It doesn't take time. But it's take a leadership position and volunteering spot. So it's about telling your story. How do you tell your story? How do you go about it? And you see this part, this is where you don't want to over-exhaust it. I have a lot of certifications. They are mostly free online. Google it. Okay, I'm applying for microbiology. I want to get more certification, etc., etc. I have a ton of them, but which of them am I presenting? Like you see these Harvard Business Schools, because I went to UTM and I have a lot of certification in business analytics, about 6 or 7 of them. I only brought one to the table. But I think, okay, mathematics is still very important for science. I can sort of do this. This is what you can do. This is one thing I would change in the future. I've learned the hard way, and you might not, it's your call. I think putting my skills and competency last is not a good decision, even though I still got the scholarship. It's something that can be early on because you could just put it upwards. Like, what skill do you have? What are the core things that they know? What are the core languages? I like to separate my skills from laboratory to personal to software. But these are an academic CV look like. Perhaps the point of it is that it's always very simplistic. It doesn't have too much designs. Professors doesn't care. Your committee doesn't care. It's different from all those scholarships that you're applying for. But it's how do you tell your story? I bet you I can write this CV in just one page. It looks like I don't have anything. Put my bachelor's, put list of my publication, and you see all this teaching experience. I don't have any. I'll just maybe put academic and just research assistant. That'll be it. But my ability to actually break things out, section it, and made it make sense, really make my CV feel awesome. To show that, oh, he has an experience. It's promising. Although, and that's why you should not like, because when you then get to an interview, this will be the centerpiece of your interview question. So it's important that whatever you bring forward, you're able to defend it. Now, for those of you that, let me see if I can open that in a moment. I think I have it up too. Yeah, I do. Professional resume. Some can be a page, some can be 2 pages. This is a professional resume that I usually use for an application. And you see what I did here. I got an application, an internship for an industry working on an AI stuff, right? And obviously, this might be a bit far off. Why am I showing all of this? I have over 30 CVs. I have a whole folder of CV, maybe 50 CVs. because it changes per application. Perhaps that's the word. Then I have a master CVC and try to update it maybe every quarter or every month. I have a master CVC about 40 or 50 pages where everything I've done in my life, whether irrelevant, whether not relevant, whether too small, too big, I shall list it there. And whenever I'm applying for something new, I look at what do they want? What story do they want? Who is the ID candidate? And how do you get the ID candidates to look at previous winners? What is my story? And how can I connect the dots? And that's the most important thing I think you need to know here. So every CV have a classic thing. They're always in good sections. You want to put locations, you want to put dates, you want to ensure that like there are not too much overlap of so many things, such that you don't want to communicate that you are very diluted. This tech has gone so far. I wrote my CV, and all this design you are seeing, this red and make it good. I didn't have time to design, I just put it on Cloyd. This is my CV. Just give me a very good design template for it. And I was able to work around it. But perhaps some things I would like to highlight here is that, like, you see, I brought the skills very up front here. Like, even I didn't bring it after my education and experience, it was way up front. In this case, my publication was even selected. I only selected 4. Now, in the previous one that I used 6 years ago, it was 7 that you saw there. Now I have about 15 or 20 of them. But I selected 4 because they don't care much. This is an industry. Like, they care less about my publication for what is what. They care more about what are the core technical skills that I have. And really knowing what story do they want, how do they want it, and how can you present yourself is all that matters, right? So if there are 3 things you need to kind of get out of this. But if you look at any of my CV, whether it's academic CV, professional CV, it still kind of communicates who I am. I'm a scientist. And in some cases, I choose to bring the science forward. In some other cases, I will bring, and I'll show you a typical example, I'll bring the professional development part of me forward. Let me show you a CV I use for a World Economic Forum, which is a professional application. Because I spend a lot of time on academic because you guys want to apply for scholarship. But I'm going to find one now that I use for WEF. I hope I still, or EDF, I think. See this. No, not this. I think I found it. No, not this. It can't be this. I might not have saved it then. Yeah. And you will rarely see, you see my scientific expertise. I think I'm going to send some stuff to them, but you rarely see any of that because I was applying for scholarship that relate to development, my social work, my SDGs work. Obviously, education, I believe education start every CV. Let's start with that. No matter whatever you study, when education start your CV. And this is where you can start tweaking things. Which appointment do you want to bring forward? Which research program do you want to bring? Which award do you want to bring to the table? What publications if you want to bring in, etc., etc. And I think this thing matters. So what are the core things I want you guys to get out of this training? I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a moment. Is 1. The first step is to have an exhaustive list of documents of who are you and what have you done. See those small things that doesn't matter to you, like the tutorial you've taught in a class, the volunteering you've done that you can't remember, that little conference you attended that an attendees that you joined online. Start listing everything. They matters. As far as you've done it before, as far as you are there, as far as you are present, that's all that matters. How do you describe this fellowship? What do you want to call yourself? What is this fellowship called? Let's say this is a skill acquisition program, right? And I think this would be a recommendation for Precious. It should be branded with something like, is it the Upskill Fellowship 2026? Is it the whatever it's called? It should be branded, such that because we live in a world of narrative and with social media, oh my God, you'll be shocked with some of your role models that you are looking at social media that don't have half of the experience you have. But it's about how do you tell your story. Now, you don't want to be like them. You want to have that experience, but also know how to tell the story very well. And I think this is normal. And it starts with your academic CV. I can go ahead. I'm not the one teaching you guys on SOP and personal statements. That's a different way of telling your story entirely. And I think that Precious is very good with that, and some other persons. I've read a lot of his SOPs, and he's really very always spot on. But everything eventually we still say the same story. Now, I asked you a question. Tell me your team. And I asked you, why do you think those teams are? You guys are telling me your motivation, the story behind it, what your passion was. Your CV doesn't care about that. You can do that in your SOP. You can do that in your personal statements. When I asked you, tell me the evidence, and that's why I used the word evidence. I was very clear with my word. This is who you are. Tell me the evidence. And virtually most persons in the class said less of the evidence, but more of their ongoing passion for it and how they got into it. Your CV doesn't care about that. Your SOP will do that job for you. Huh? And why your CV will be the backup evidence of what you've done. It's a document of what you've done or what you are currently doing. Not a document of what you hope to do and why you are doing them. Do not confuse both of them together. Does the application packet needs why? Yes. But it's a different thing. You always have essays in application. And that's why those essays are there, where you walk them through your why and what you've done. And your CV is an opportunity to exhaustively, give them what are the evidence guiding some of these your claim. So I think with this, if I were you, my first next step is have a master document. The second next step is to then ask the question, what am I applying for? Who is the ideal candidate? What story do I have to fill and what should I bring forward? The third thing is do not discard anything you've done before. Do not discard your volunteering experience. How can you bring the narrative? To say none of you should use AI would be a disservice to you. I hate recommending it for early career people because I use AI a lot, but I'm also very confident in my writing skills. I can write perfectly without it. So it's a very sine qua non recommendation for me to give. But why am I saying this? Even when you find this so difficult to actually describe what you've done, but you've done this before, you volunteer for an agency that did this, even though they didn't brand themselves and you're confused on how do you want to narrate it, how do you want to say it, you can have suggestions from it. As far as if you're asked to prove that case, you can actually prove it. And that's all that matters. So what do you want to bring to the table? How does it work? And with that, you have a very good CV. So what does an academic CV has? You want to put your education profile first. You want to put your academic experience next. This is from research experience, teaching experience, and publication. Those are 3 pillars you must try to satisfy. Then you want to put a bit of your extracurriculars that shows you're an all-rounder. If you have an award, it's an opportunity to put that forward. Award and leadership experience. And these are the core thematic for an academic CV. In a professional CV, this changes a little bit. You want to put your education first, but you want to put your professional experiences next, depending on what you want to apply for. In this case, it doesn't have to be your publication yet. It has to be your professional experiences. Where have you worked? In what capacity have you done? What have you volunteered about? Then, what are the evidences that guide that? Do you have some article out there? Do you have some metric and number you can actually describe them with? Also, don't forget the power of just 2 bullets. I can only go 3 bullets or 4, except you only have very shallow appointments. If you have like 3 or 4 experience, you can put just 2 bullets. The 2 or your 3 most powerful bullets. The power of metrics, numbers matters. And your number should not be any other number. Let's say you are I'm looking for a perfect example. There's something called a unique selling point. Because let's say a lot of people is applying for the Shipney Scholarship. I can imagine an admission committee member will read a lot of founders. Founder of this change, founder of that SDG change, founder of this change, founder of that change. Okay, fine. But your description needs to be unique. What makes you different from all of this kind of founder, right? What have you done that's a bit spot on? What is a bit different, etc., etc. And these are the things that actually help you a lot in building your academic CV and professional experiences. I want to give you one final thought, which is totally not about CV. But one thing I've also learned in grading and also reviewing, sitting on committees, whether you're applying for a graduate school scholarship, whether you're applying for that Dalai Lama Fellowship, Princess Diana Award, how do you tell your story? This is not a session for that. But I want to reemphasize the power of case study. A lot of applicants fall into this gap and they might be telling the truth. For example, look at Precious. I'm going to use Precious as a case study. Precious wants to apply, let's say, for a very top Obama Foundation Leadership Award. And I'm reading his essay, and he started with who he is, his motivation. But you need to kind of talk about what he does with Dream to Impact. And he wrote, and I quote, let me say he wrote it this way. I founded Dream to Impact to create a system or a leadership approach for people to actually get the needed mentorship resources to be who they are. In the past 3 years, we've supported 500 students, 200 of whom are these and blah, blah, blah. That's all good. I love those metrics. But that's not the convincing part in every application packet. The next paragraph should be specific example include Chidimak Shikwendu, who was gotten from who we met at the suburb of blah blah blah, drop out of school And from our program, just tell one example, you have about the 100, and that is what gets them. The power of a case study, 1 or 2 examples, a story you can hyperlink, a story you can tell, a story you can sell. I remember when I did my Shivni essay, and I'm going to show you one example. I got Shivni, right, and I opened the document up here. Shivni is a very interesting application. It's one of the most complicated attributes in the world. And yeah, they asked me a question that like describe when you've gone the extra miles to kind of create a solution to societal problem. And I'll do a quick stint of read with you. And I started in 2017. I realized that the SDGs is an agenda designed to create socio-economic development and ultimately help inspire for total leadership is not well supported by youth. To address this challenge, I founded SDGs Arts at Lagos State University. In this role, I taught SDGs at different programs on campus and raised volunteers to support the global goals. As a student leader, I leveraged my network by leading a team of hundreds of volunteers to blah, blah, blah. All of this is me summarizing. Numbers, hundreds. However, look at this second paragraph, a specific case study. As a sophomore, I realized that most students at LASU are not motivated to study the general university course, use the voluminous textbook. To motivate students to study this course and ultimately steer good performance, I led a committee that painstakingly read the 1,021 pages resource material and developed a compendium of 121 pages for the course. This avails students concise guide on how to ace this examination and subsequently increase their performance. This widely venerated art made the Vice Chancellor meet with me and my team and officially endorse this group on campus. This was our first project, actually. And we did this. But it's just one example. One specific example. Another example I gave, because I was applying for Shivni, Masters in Microbiology, but they want leadership first. And that's why I've not even got to microbiology. Another example is very important. As a first graduate with microbiology, I recognize the rising score of antimicrobial resistance in developing country. Understanding that blah, 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 I led a review of this. But the most important point for me is this example. Yes, I said all of these things. Everybody will say what their organization did, how many thousands of people they've impacted, how many hundreds. But just one example. I think it wins. Perhaps another example that is very, very critical was this question on networking. Tell us when you use your position to actually network and create change. And rather than talking about my network or who I know or who I didn't know, I use the opportunity to actually cite, and I'm not teaching you guys how to say your story, and I don't have time. I wish I had the time for it, and I can ask all of your experiences and tell you this is how I will say your story for this, I will tell your story for this. But it takes you, I'm not gifted, I'm not talented. I've read over 1,000 SOP or 2,000 SOP. I've been doing this for 8 years or 9 years. So it's taking effort of being able to see how do you say this story, right? But it's something you also have to learn, because at every stage of your life, you always have a story to sell. Through your CV, through your experiences, and how do you shape it? How do you present it? And this is all that matters. I'm going to do the quick stint of this. It was talk about when you use your network and what do you use your network to do. I'm going to highlight this example, this specific example. He said, interestingly, my current role as a program coordinator for the non-campus network encompasses varying leadership ideas, in which building beneficial relationships is an essential part. In this capacity, I coordinate student leaders across 80 universities in 20 countries, where I promote cross-functional of ideas to foster SDGs. A highlight is my role in leading. All of this is jargon. Still broadening, nothing makes sense in my own opinion. But I have to establish a context. Perhaps I think this one might be the point that actually got me an interview invite, if anybody asks me. Furthermore, I leverage my relationship building skills in raising international community support for the EndSARS agitation, a campaign aimed at ending all forms of police brutality in Nigeria. As a Nigerian working remotely for an international agency, I consider it appropriate to lend my voice and inspire international support to further strengthen the call for justice for my dear nation. As such, I took the bold step of emailing. What I only did there was an email. That was my only activity for networking. I have better examples, right? But the power of telling a story, of emailing the executive director of MCN to lend his voice and support Nigeria youth. On the other end, I engaged in numerous stakeholders and connected with Ryan Pryor of CNN to help support the campaign. This singular act of mine culminated in various international support, with Ryan specifically committed to making appropriate contacts to ensure that our voices are heard. Yeah, this eventually led to CNN covering the program, blah, blah, blah. But my only action there is an email. But how did I frame that email? Establish who I am, what I cannot bear to withstand. How can I play my part? So sometimes you don't need the biggest of examples. You don't need to have saved 1,000 persons' life. You just need one story. I got a scholarship called the SCBN Fellowship in 2018. I was in LASU. And I wish I can look for that essay, but I can't find it quickly yet. And the power of that essay is I didn't have all of this experience then. But the experience I cited was when we went to teach the SDGs to secondary school students. And we're talking about gender equality. And I think there was one person that walked us to us that were facing. I think the person was facing a lot of domestic violence at home. Just with like, I am committed to just change my community one person at a time. A specific example include. So the illusion, now, while I believe that you can be an A game person, you can be an A-lister, the illusion that you must have win all the awards of this world to have a good story to tell is a lie. You just must understand the power of what's the motivation behind it. What is the specific act you did, and how did you contribute your best towards it? The power of case study. So when you think about writing your application, particularly for scholarship like this, it's a bit different for SOP. But even that, the power of a specific example matters. You see how I listed all those publications in my CV. When it comes to my SOP that I used to apply, I only specifically said it's just one of the examples that I find worthy of it. And we can look at one quickly, since you guys are more concerned about academic scholarship. I have a whole drive of what I used then for my grad school. Another thing I should also give is must be very organized. This was 7 years ago, and I can still find all the schools I applied for. Let's see. Pittsburgh. I got into Pittsburgh, so let me use an application that I got into. Or maybe Purdue, either of the two. And we can find a specific case study example. How do you present yourself? How do you tell your story, right? Yeah, I hate a packet like this. Let me look Pittsburgh. I was able to tell a story here too, but I think they limited to 500 words. And the only story I could tell was this first part of the story, right? But this also worked, right? Let's look at this actually. As a young man with previous ROing experience, I've always been committed to academic work, thereby placing me in the top 1% of my class all through my study. However, motivation to pursue a PhD program was spurred during my research internship at Lagos University. As an intern, I carried out diagnostic tests, assisted college professors, and graduate student laboratory input for compiled result analyzed data. In all of these, I realized that the leading cause of illness and death at the hospital are microbiologically induced. This is not the best of SOP because I was short for 500 words. But I was able to combine, if you look at my other SOPs, this paragraph is combining 4 paragraphs into one. What is my motivation? I didn't spend too much. I have just 500 words. I cannot afford to spend 50 words on somebody in my family died of infectious diseases. I have to get off it. I need to quickly speak about beyond that functional experience. What action have I taken that solidifies what is the case study? And the only case study I brought to the case was my experience in this medical research center. And what did I saw? What did I do? It's as simple as that. So I think in summary, we can talk about CV up and down. We can tailor it, but they have to work together. How do you present yourself? Wait. Interesting, precious. Really? I've not been sharing my screen. And none of you can content.
No, we thought because you stopped sharing your screen for the other part after you were done with the CV review.
But none
So
of
we
anything
thought
I've been
that
saying would make sense without. I've been sharing my screen like a mad person since. Oh my God.
Oh, sorry. We thought that those other essays were very private, so you didn't want to
No.
share.
You other person knows that now, precious. Like everything I was reading so fast, thinking that you guys can see my screen. Oh my God.
Sorry.
Oh my God.
But I'm sure
Interesting.
they were getting the most bit of it.
And it becomes, oh my God, interesting. I've shared like 6 or 7 documents just talking to myself. This is bad. It's all right. What I will do is, in interest of time, I will share all of these essays to you. But the most important thing is me just citing examples. Because the only reason I was reading very fast because I thought you guys can read along with me. You will notice I was reading and I was skipping some lines. And I thought you guys can read along with me. But these are the 2 major examples I cited for Shivling. Where I cited example that like, students, look at this. This is a very simple project anybody could have done. It's normal GNS or I don't know what your school calls it, general studies. Nobody wants to read it. Nobody wants to pass it. Just want to pass and just go. And in some of in last, and Precious can tell you, it is graded. Like some school that doesn't have any unit, it has a unit actually in last. And we see that people actually
Yeah.
just have C and C and C in it. And what we did was just to compile, take all the textbook for GNS 101, 102, 201, whatever. And we read it. We are 11 of us and compile it to 15, 20 pages, 100 pages summary and shared it out. And a lot of people passed. I can remember that man, the VC then, that was my first contact with the vice chancellor, invited us and endorsed the SDGs. I have the picture when he endorsed the SDG on campus. So these examples actually really worked. This was the example I was saying where I sent an email. This was what I was reading. I actually even bolded it in yellow for you guys. So I thought you guys were seeing what I was saying. The example of the email I was talking about. But the point of all of this is that you want to be able to tell a case study, right? And someone like Precious, there's no reason why I should not get some award like the Princess Diana Award, but he will not get it if all his application is just about, oh, we've supported 1,000 persons. You want to make it real for them. You want to kind of take them through a journey of, out of that 1,000 persons, can you tell me about one person? What did they do different? How did they do it? Okay. Then you then pivot back to like, this is why we do all of this. So whether for scholarship, for applications, this help. So to summarize, what will be the next steps? I've said it, but I'll say it again. First of all, go sit down and have an exhaustive master list. List things that doesn't make sense. Those actions you've taken, things that you feel like, this is not enough for CV. Everything is always enough for CV. Just have an exhaustive master list and know that, are you bringing forward an academic CV, a professional CV, or whatever it is that you are doing? And I think with that, things will work out fine. So that's all I've got, and I will take a stop there. I hand over to Precious. I can take a few questions before I run away, but I hope this is helpful. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kendi, for that beautiful presentation, right? So we're moving into the major thing I got from the resume and academic CV class is pretty much, and I was picking points, right? And just to add up to what you said, right? So pretty much have like a bucket list of CV, right? Bucket CV rather, where you put your most important thing, not most important things, but like everything you've ever done, things that you feel like are relevant, things like you feel like are irrelevant, everything you've ever done as a human being. Because your bucket CV is usually very, very long. My bucket CV, I'm still a baby in this in the industry, right? So my bucket CV is about like 3 to 4 pages. See, Kenny's own is like 30 something, 40 something, but yeah, my bucket CV is like 3 to 4 pages, right? So when I'm applying for any role or any position, especially because I'm in the professional space, right? So compared to like if it was to submit an academic CV, I would say okay, 2 pages max. But if I'm applying for a professional role, is good, and I recommend people keeping it to like 1 page, right? So 1 page professional resume, just 1 page straight to the point, right? You pick out, say you look at, if you're applying for any job or any role at all, look at your bucket, look at what the job is requiring, right? So look at your bucket CV and say, okay, what are the things that you can pick out from this bucket CV that speak to the requirements, the job description, right? Or the prerequisites of this job or this role, do you understand? And pick them out from your bucket CV and structure it properly. At this stage, I don't think if you're applying for any job or any position at all, whether scholarship, school position, it should be more than two pages. Stick to 1 page if it's a professional role. Stick to 2 pages max if it's an academic CV you're submitting. So pretty much that. So we live in another thing too, Abu. I think Kenny missed that out, right? In Nigeria, there's something most people, I usually see it in all these abroad CVs. There's something they have like a Dean Award, and most Nigerian universities to do that Dean Award, right? So that Dean Award is like, let's say you are like you're the, say you have like first class, first class students in some departments, they're usually very small, right? So it's like to recognize that, okay, you were a first class student, they give them Dean Awards, right? So if you're a first class student, you're on more than 4.5 plus, right? You can include this in your CV, in your award section. That will Dean Awards, you were given the Dean Awards, right? So from this year, from when, let's say your first year is when you started getting the first class, include that and put it to your final year, whatever. As Kenny also wrote in his own CV, if you are the top percentage of students in your class or your cohort, you can include that. So you were 30 out of 2,000 students, yeah. Put the percentage. It might look small when you say 30 out of 2,000, but if you put it in percentage form, it kind of like gives it like more professionalism to it. So that's pretty much my tips from my end, and I'll be opening the floor to Kenny back to answer questions that everybody might have. Yeah. So Kenny, the floor is
Yeah,
yours. Yeah.
I'm happy to take questions. I can take 3 questions because I have to run out in five
So
minutes. I'm so sorry,
yes,
guys.
so three
So let's do that.
questions. Hands that are raised are we have Chidima Umenadi hand is raised. Who else? We'll start with Chidima. Chidima is the first person to speak. Chidima, do you have any questions? Oh,
I can say a question on Shidima Shikwendu. I have one question for you. What do we currently
okay.
do? I have read it in your chat, boss.
Well, okay, one question.
Chidima
Guys, I
Shikwendu.
didn't
Can I
hear
check my
what you said.
What do you currently do? Where do you currently work? I've read your question, but I need that to go. I can answer.
Okay, I don't know anything. Okay, actually, I'm a remote worker. I'm a social media manager and content
Okay, great. That's fine.
strategist. Yeah.
That's fine. That's okay.
Mhm.
So, sometimes your CV doesn't have an address and affiliation. Let's start with that. You could just have your name and you just have your, what is it called? Your email and slash, 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 whatever the case may be. But what are you hoping to apply to? What are you hoping to get?
My network is so bad. I can't really hear what you're
What
saying.
are you hoping to apply to? Like, what program? Is it a master's in something? What are you going to hoping to get?
Okay, yes, masters in business analytics, data analytics, business
Ah, so in your own case, right, you're going for a master's in data analysis, and that's why you must know what matters to you. Yeah, you could try to get publications, but not necessarily. In this case, you know what we call portfolios, right?
analytics.
And portfolio is like, and I hope you can hear me since your network is bad. In this case, you want to bring your pets for what are the projects you've completed? What are the data analytics projects you've completed? So you have to create a portfolio document of the kind of work you've done, how you've done it, who have you worked
I
for.
just started
So,
hearing
You know what,
so
Chidima,
now.
I'll type it on the but as
Know.
he's speaking, I'm going to type it on the chat.
And that is why thanks so much,
Kenny,
Precious, for that. And
yeah.
so I think the first step in a CV is to know what is the norm in your field and what is the expectation. That's why I started with the concept of what story do they want to hear from you. A data analytics shows care less about your
Okay,
publication,
sir.
but more about the project you need to complete. So the most important thing is, do you have a portfolio of projects you've done before? In this case, I will invest more time in having a GitHub profile if you do some coding stuff or not, or a data analytics profile where you have a lot of your work there regarding the project you've completed. Even sometimes I would volunteer to actually bring up some data analytics for some company or institutions that might need help. Everybody will always take volunteer of data analysts because data is king, right? And analysis is a big deal. In some cases, you yourself can also still publish something, a data-driven publication. Now, it don't have to be a research article. It could be an opinion article. You don't need to review anything. Let's say you're interested in agriculture. You say you studied agri business and management, and you can just and data is everywhere. Precious does this a lot. You can sit down, look at how's the agribusiness system in Nigeria looking like? What are the factors that might be affecting the, what are the numbers looking like? And one thing data does to you is that helps you is that it make you make inferences others are not seeing. So the point being that like the whole research publication thing is not a one size fit all approach for every profession. Let me be very clear about that. It does depend on what you want to do, and yeah.
So yeah, Chidima, I left a summary in the comment section, right? So in chat box rather, so you can just read it up if your network is still having, if you didn't hear everything he said. Right. So do you have any further questions before we move to Chidima or Maynard?
Okay, I don't know if you can hear me, sir.
Yes, I can. We can hear you
The
now.
main thing I've been researching about to do for my master's is actually business management because I studied
Mm-hmm.
agribusiness and management in my undergraduate days. So I don't know if business
Mm-hmm.
management and data analysis, business analysis, sorry, and data analysis, they are the same thing.
So you say you want to go
Business.
for the master's in data analytics, right? But maybe Precious can answer that. I have an answer, but he's an
No,
expert in it.
business analysis, sir.
Business analytics. So business analytics and data analytics, they are kind of similar, but they are not exactly totally alike, right? So business analytics is just the application of data analytics to business. Do you understand? For example, like how exactly would you, because I'm a consultant, management consultant, I apply some business
Mhm.
analytics, data analysis in business, right? So I would say that was business analytics, right? So it's just pretty much saying how do you apply data analysis skills, analysis, right, projects to business challenges. So it's data analytics that is tailored to solving business issues is what you call business analysis. Is that clear?
So
Yeah, Chidema.
invariably, what it means is that like your data analysis skill is not a waste. It's just the kind of problem you're approaching. You are using it to approach business problem. It's as simple as
And
that.
And
Yeah.
quite frankly, in my opinion, I believe that all or a majority of industries will actually, especially in today's time, which is actually very critical, will actually need some form of or apply some form of data analysis skills or data analytics. You understand? All form of industries, whether medicine, engineering, economics, public policy, there's a form of analysis and statistics or quantitative measurement that is shall going on back end. That's very useful. So I advise everybody to have that data analytics skill and the quantitative skills and the yes. So yeah. Yeah, so
Chidema Umanan, I think you have a question.
yeah, Chidima Uminadi. Yes.
Okay, my question is, today's topic is on academic CV and professional resume. So, and
Mhm.
I really appreciate Kenny for like giving us a holistic, like he really made me to see a different perspective of how I've been approaching my academic CV. So I would want to know how do I like tell my story in my academic CV, and how can I use it to like boost my LinkedIn optimization? Because I think that's one part that was left out. So
Yeah,
how
yeah,
do
yeah.
I present it on LinkedIn?
So LinkedIn is a very, no, I'm not a social media person. I'm very clear, but I think I've done a good job in building my LinkedIn, albeit organically.
Mhm.
First of all, always be in the habit of updating your LinkedIn whenever a new giant stride happens to you. Not even giant stride, a new appointment. A typical question to you is how many of you have posted when you were selected about this on your LinkedIn? Let me even start with that.
Mhm.
How many of you
So
drove a narrative? How many of you started that like I am excited to begin either a fellowship or an upskill class after being selected out of this thousand number of people? And you have this very nice picture of you, like a selfie with maybe your book in front of. Now that there's even AI picture that is now allowed, you start from basic things like that, you know. And that's also you are putting yourself visibility out there, and a little tag people. You are telling a bit of a story bit by bit because LinkedIn is a very powerful search engine. Now, when you
Mhm.
go to my own LinkedIn, after I've not done a good job in recent time, I'm going to share my screen to that. Yeah, you're right. It's part of the topic. And for some reasons, I got caught up with the other part. Okay, I think I have it opened, thinking about it. So, yeah, my LinkedIn is a mess. I rarely open it in recent time. Before, when I was looking for a job and searching for everything, I was always doing it. Don't be like me. But I think I have some nice example to actually still share. Now, my LinkedIn, you see this headline matters a lot. What do you describe yourself as? And this changes over time. And you will see that, like, even without speaking about it twice, I've told you what my teams were, which was science, academia, blah, blah, blah. And this sort of mirrors what I do. I have three things. I'm a doctoral scholar, I do research in microbiology, and I do SDG and development work, policy work. That's perfect. Now, LinkedIn have a lot of interesting part that you guys don't know. And I also need to update it. Beyond the standard experience part where you can feel stuff and you want to actually build a good narrative of what you did there, and some people do a better job than I did there, is you want to put what you did, when you did them, and there's an opportunity to even put some description now in LinkedIn and even put some of your pictures there. And it sort of tells a story. When anybody comes to my LinkedIn, three things will come out to them. Okay, he's an academic, obviously, he's a scientist, whatever the case may be. But another thing you also see is that, like, I do a lot of work in SDGs. They say that, like, even when you click on this is me, yeah. So I'm not lying. This is me in 2020, 2018, leading one of the largest SDGs work in the country. By going through my LinkedIn, you will see my early young days there, actually showing how I developed this. And you have some specific examples like this. Some of you that have a picture with your lab coat before that you've done something. It's LinkedIn give opportunity not only to only describe what you did, but actually to bring it to life. And picture communicate faster than anything you can ever imagine. And LinkedIn give you an opportunity to do that, right? And you see, when you actually click on it, it goes on. I did my program coordinator work, etc., etc. There should ideally be a description here, which is not good enough, And as I said, I got to a stage where I don't put description. But another thing you also see in your LinkedIn is you have an opportunity here. That's why when Precious came to ask me for a bio, I was like in my brain, why is he asking for a bio? Just go to my LinkedIn or something. You can see something. I try to update it every year or every 6 months if I have time. You should do that more often. And I have a stint about me where I kind of you could personalize it. I use a third word approach to kind of describe what do I currently do. My first paragraph will show my engagement, where I am summarily. And my last paragraph is some of the things I've done that are evidence driven based, right? And I usually always end with my North Star, which is my North Star is I'm immensely passionate about sustainable development and desires to save planet so that everybody lives and share prosperity. Is that opportunity to let you list your top skills? When people list your top skills, you can speak to some of your colleagues to kind of validate and verify you, such that LinkedIn give you this whatever these award things. So my own top skills that I gave to me was the microbiology, molecular, and this and this and that, which kind of fit what I did. Another thing people don't use a lot is this section of features. So in featured, you can actually put where you are published online or some of your work. Create it, even put some picture. I've not updated it since forever. But like this was the early years when I was applying massively for a lot of things. So I did a lot of these where I was features. Some of it are Millennium Fellows. I don't know if you guys know that you can actually put some of those features there. Such that, because the thing about LinkedIn is, I call this, you are the one describing all of these things. Okay, fine. But what if you are lying? But feature give you an opportunity to actually no, they are third-party validations. I've been published somewhere online. I have my articles online. They can click on it and actually see what you've been up to. Can everyone still hear me? I hope so. And they can truly see what you've been up to. And this actually also helps a lot in whatever it is, you are doing. Some CV sections have an opportunity for you to put your LinkedIn. I want you to put your CV. Another CV I think was very good. Let me search for Ade CV. Yeah, I think Ade have a very good LinkedIn. He's great at what he does. We started together, started SDGs together. And you also see that feature there with him. You see what he has done, how he's approaching it. You see and there are so many features you can put. When they click on it, you can have a lot of feature and etc., etc., as case may be. Right. So he has a feature section. Again, he has his headliner. His first headliner is like he's a medical professional. You can see it's medic. Some of the core award that he has won. He's a Cambridge alum. He's going to Oxford now for his PhD. But again, it takes time to build this. You build this one at a time. And you also have activity. The one you post this thing, the one LinkedIn does this thing. And that's why you need to post. Because even when people come to your profile, they see what is your last post about. What are the things you reposted? What did you like? And sometimes LinkedIn is not, and I did give you an example of that. Look at this post, right? Look at this post. This is about himself. where you won this award, right? But that's not what only LinkedIn is for. When you go back to that post, still his activity, you see him that he's making some repost and commenting on, recommending maybe a research program for people. Look at this Anthropic course for global policy in AI development. And he shared his thoughts on a standard post. And these are how you optimize. So when you tell someone that you are interested in this, you could even see it from his track record of his activity. The things that he likes, the things that he reposts, where he shares his thoughts. So the idea that you only go to LinkedIn when you win something is a lie, is a scam. This is an example of that, right? And he also founded, I sit on the board of AirDrive. I'm his co-chair of the board, and I know the lot of work that we did here. And he has stated a lot of it, and you see it. Describe what it is that he did, one of the key thematics. And even when you click on it here, you see a picture of his work, speaking about it, and the likes and other things. So this is a very, very good CV. You can also look like. Obviously, your education also wants to show stuff. Even he used the picture better than I did. Look at him when he got there from Cambridge. There's a picture of him graduating from Cambridge. Right? These are powerful evidence. So it's not just listing. Nobody is doubting. Your CV is like, your LinkedIn is like a masterful evidence to kind of show whatever it is. His volunteering is there. He volunteered with SDGs Arts for a while, as you can see it clearly, and what he has done in volunteering. Some of the project is currently ongoing, some of the skills that he has. You can also put some of your publications in LinkedIn. This, you see, although he has got a lot of awards, you can see after 3 awards to his name. He does a better job than I do. I've never listed most of my awards on LinkedIn. I should do that, So, and perhaps so this is a top way to do LinkedIn, where even all of you have posted where you are on LinkedIn, then you are not thinking much about it. You should have posted it, speak about it. It should even be on your profile. And as you go higher in career, you start removing some things, adding some things, removing some things, adding some things, and etc. etc. And even when you go to your own page, based on the kind of things you like, your recommendations will come where you can. There's a way you can also select your interest. What are you interested in? So it give you things that you can constantly always also. You also don't want to be a menace. You don't want to be sharing your thoughts on everything all time and day, but things that are kind of very, very important. So I'll stop here. I'm glad you actually pointed out it was part of my topic, and I had opened my LinkedIn to share an example. So your question brought me back to it. So that was really good. And that also shows that you actually read the brief ahead before the class, and that's impressive. Go ahead, Precious.
Just to add to what Kenny also said, see your LinkedIn as your resume, right? In fact, I would say see it more like a bucket resume, right? But the bucket resume that there is that serves as proof that you've done something, right? So everybody in this class now, with what Kenny said now, how many of you have posted, a fellow for I got accepted as a fellow for the 2026 summer online summer skill acquisition program, things like that? How many of you post on LinkedIn that you've attended this particular class? You understand? Let's say you have a class, week 1 class, take a screenshot of you in the class. What are your highlights of the class? What did you learn? That's how to show track record that you're doing something exactly, right? It doesn't always have to be when you win something. It could also be, as Kenny said, right? When let's say you obviously LinkedIn brings, based on your follows, brings things that you're interested in, right? Say you see something that you're interested in, you comment on it, give your thoughts behind it, right? It kind of shows, okay, you cannot just say you're interested in something without the proof. I'll give you an expo, right? There are some times that I applied to some scholarships, right? And some scholarships, some programs, and I'll just see that organization pop up in my LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn has this feature where they show you people that view your LinkedIn, right? If you subscribe to the premium version, it shows you the particular person, but me, I care less about the premium version. But sometimes it shows the normal free version shows you like a bit of people that view like your LinkedIn, right? The organizations that view your LinkedIn, right? And I'll see sometimes I apply to a particular program and I'll see that organization on my link. Okay, this person viewed your LinkedIn, or this particular organization viewed your LinkedIn, and it's the organization of the scholarship I applied to or something like that. And before you know it, a few weeks later, I'll be awarded, like I'll be given like an interview up slot. Just shows that they're actually going to verify certain things, because on my I don't have a personal website, right? Personal website. So what I just do on my CV, I put my LinkedIn as like a as a personal website, because quite frankly, I need to even improve so because I don't even post on LinkedIn as much as I should because of time. But just see your LinkedIn as that social. You know how anybody that is here that uses social media often, right? How you want to post on Twitter, how you want to post on Instagram, how you want to post on what other social media, TikTok, you understand? There are different nuances to these different apps. LinkedIn is like a very professional space. And quite frankly, I would say 99% of the connections I have made, 99% of the opportunities I have made are on LinkedIn. I'm not even lying at all. I'm not even capping. Even my current role, it was a role that I found on LinkedIn too. You understand? I've been following the organization, but when this thing just popped up, like, okay, wow, I just applied. You get so 99% of the opportunities, the scholarships, the roles that I've gotten that have helped me, right, from LinkedIn. So I would say LinkedIn is a very, very, very it's up there when it comes to apps. It can get boring sometimes because you just look and everybody's just talking about their failures, their success, and you be like, the same thing. But you find a way to make it fun for yourself. Follow people that you're interested in, follow topics that you're interested in, give your points, your opinions. You understand? Of course, is a professional space. The way you act on Instagram is not necessarily the way you act on LinkedIn too. Do you understand? And so that's pretty much it. So from now on, now even beyond the assignment Kennedy will give you, I'll challenge everybody here to make an update on their LinkedIn that they've been awarded this 2026 summer online skill acquisition program. Also include it it can either be on your awards. There's a page on your LinkedIn that has the award section, right? Include it there. Include the link to a screenshot of the proof that that EduAfrica sent you, the email that you got from us. You understand? Include those particular things there, because even if you look at my LinkedIn, you see certain things there. You see proof of certain things and accomplishments I have. But of course, I can't list everything because sometimes you just forget to update your LinkedIn, but it's actually very, very important. So I'll just read the questions that some people have for Kenny oh, this is a lot. So Ibrahim Sahid Opeyemi says, hi, sir, I have a BSc microbiology and I have interest in computational biology and bioinformatics. I currently work as a graduate assistant in the Department of Microbiology, University of Ilorin. I took free courses on Coursera to boost my computational skills. I would love to speak, but my network is very bad. I have also sent you a connection request on LinkedIn. I need guidance in reviewing CV and how best to articulate my essays. Thank you, sir. I don't know, Kennedy, it's you to answer that question. I know you're a very busy person, so do you want people to be sending you CVs to for review? I don't know if you have that time. Even me that I've not even gotten to the level of work you've gotten to, I don't have the time. Do you understand? So yes, the answer is for you to give.
Yeah. Since you asked boldly, on the call, you can send to me on my email.
Okay, lovely. Okay, so
That's
would you
fine.
mind dropping your email? I'll send your email to the group because there's a group, right, where people can send you their emails and their CVs for review. So the next person is
No problem.
Akonde
But please
John.
follow up, Ibrahim. I cannot emphasize the power of following up. Please
Yes.
to follow up.
Mhm.
I am busy in the ways I myself don't want to be busy.
Yes.
But
Kennedy is a
please
very
follow up.
busy person, and it's actually a privilege that he took out time to speak to us and impact us today.
It's a
Yeah,
Precious can
so
ask anything of me. So I'll answer Dorcas. I read the question already, Dorcas. So
okay,
the
okay,
question is
okay.
like for professional resume and academic CV. You can't list your case study on your CV. Oh my God. But like, for example, the power of case study, let's say you listed on your CV that you're an intern or a research assistant in something on your CV, and you're writing maybe an essay about what you want to do and why you love research. Always when you're citing an example, you'd be like, example, during my role as an intern at this, then you then list those case study, right? So the case studies mostly come in your essays application, not in your CV. Your CV is just your achievements, your evidence, your metrics, what you've done. It's nothing, you can't list case studies. But those case studies you kind of describe in your story, give someone an example of, you tell me you've done 100 of this, but how does one of them look like? So let me tell you the power of case studies, not because you said one thing, but because you force the reader to see just one and make them think that, wow. So this thing changed this person's life for one person. Imagine and he said he has done it for 100 other people. So you bring it becomes more pragmatic than just being a story, like an abstract thing to them. And that's the power of case study. And I think that, like, but you're not listing that on your CV. But with that said, I have to run now. I had said I'll use an hour, but I eventually used the 2 hours because I think it's been a fun class. So, and I truly wish you guys all the very best. I'll hand over to Precious for any final thoughts. And best of luck.
Yes.
The power of mentorship cannot be over. Chidima, I cannot answer your question. I'm sorry. I truly have to run. I'm sorry. But I think anything I can answer, Precious can answer them. I don't even why he's inviting me to do this. Maybe because he want different face. He heard him is a consultant. I am not a consultant.
Please, I
So
beg.
it's better to say that. So and I think I'll
Yes.
stop there. Over
Yes,
to
so
you.
Kendi, thank you so much for joining session for the second time. Right, the first time you joined, I was traveling, right? So my flight was delayed and I could not join, right? So thank you so much. We appreciate your time, your effort, your knowledge, and in fact, the level of dexterity you used to like impact this knowledge self. So I'm sure everybody here, they've been impacted better than they came better, they are living rather better than how they came. You understand? So thank you so much once again.
No problem. Thank you so much for the invite always. I'll drop you a message now, Precious. Bye bye, everyone. Bye.
In the recording now. Yes. Stop recording. Yes.